South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. The world continues to remember, reflect, and mourn the death of Pope Francis. The Vatican announcing that the Pontiff had passed away early Monday morning. It came just hours after the Pope gave the traditional Easter blessing. Almost a decade ago, Pope Francis visited the United States and Cuba. Catholics all over North America expressed joy and anticipation as the Pontiff brought with him a fresh message. I covered that trip. Here's a look back. Pope Francis was the third pope to visit Cuba, but his trip in 2015 was special. After all, he was from Argentina, so he spoke the language and understood the complex relationship between Cuba and the United States. Full of hope, Cubans watched on TV and in person in Havana, Holguín, and Santiago. Change is what Cubans hoped the trip would bring, and it did. The Pope helped broker a deal to open diplomatic relations between Cuba and the U.S., broken back in the 1960s.
In the land of the free, at the home of the brave.
From Cuba, the Pope flew to Washington, where he became the first pontiff to address a joint session of Congress. From the nation's capital, it was on to New York City, where people lined up in Midtown Manhattan to watch his papal motorcade pass by. How were you able to get such a great spot?
It was work. We all had to work. We all got here super early.
How early?
I got here at 4:45, but I'm by no means. You got here at 2:30.
2:30 in the morning?
Yes.
How about yourself?
4.
Covering the trip, I saw firsthand the intense security measures taken to protect the pontiff. One of the big safety precautions taken are these 8-foot fences along Central Park South. That means when the Pope is going through Central Park, you can see him, but there's no way to get through this. I met people from all over the world inspired by Francis.
I'm from Israel. We came over to see the Pope here and to visit New York.
And you like him?
We love him. We love him. You can check in with the event staff down here.
On September 26, the Pope arrived in Philadelphia, celebrating Mass on the iconic Ben Franklin Parkway. He also met with inmates, immigrants, and victims of sexual abuse.
I think people are touched that Pope Francis seems to live the sort of Christianity that he preaches. He seems to be a humble man and also a joyful man, and I think that's something we don't see much in world leaders these days. The Catholic Church is in a period of mourning following the death of Pope Francis. The Pontiff, who died Easter Monday, was 88 years old. The process to find a successor takes church officials 2 or 3 weeks. Here's a look at how it's done.
The process to elect a pope is known as conclave, which translates as with key. That's because the voting takes place in top secret with cardinals, the church's most senior officials locked in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel. First, the electors are chosen. These are cardinals who are less than 80 years old. There are only 120 spots. Currently, there are 252 cardinals and 138 who meet the age requirements. Once the electors are decided, a special mass is held in the Sistine Chapel with all cardinals, electors, and non-voting members. The electoral cardinals pledge on a Bible, an oath of absolute secrecy. They are then sealed into the Vatican until a pope is elected to prevent any external influence on the decision process. After counting, the ballots are burned in a furnace with specific chemicals to make one of 2 kinds of colored smoke. The smoke will be black if a pope has not been chosen and white if he has. And this is the sign that onlookers in St. Peter's Square will be looking for as they await the decision. There can be up to 4 rounds of voting each day. Once a new pope is chosen, that person will pick their papal name, which is different than their birth name. Those papal names like Benedict XVI, Francis, or John Paul II are often indicators of an individual's philosophy to the job. After that, a cardinal will announce to the world from the balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square, Habemus Palpum, which means we have a pope.
That was CBS News Miami's Naja Sherman reporting. Changing gears now, a push for safer schools in Florida. It's amid the tragedy in Tallahassee. Florida State University students have started a petition drive to add physical locks to classroom doors, which has led some to wonder why they weren't there in the first place. And it's starting a conversation at campuses nationwide. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor has more.
Watch yourself.
The SWAT teams came to our classroom and escorted us out.
Megan Bannister was one of these students. Once they were safe, she and a friend discussed what they called the other traumatizing experience.
how are there no locks on the classroom door?
They were at the huge class building known as HCB.
Our classroom window looked out to the student union.
That's where the active shooter was.
There were people sending desks to either side of the classroom, and then I kind of turned and saw everyone else just crouched up against the wall, and someone else said, "Lock the doors." And the student standing at the door said, "These doors don't lock."
That same day, Megan and her friend created a petition to lock doors at classrooms from inside manually. Now the petition has close to 31,000 signatures. Not only students from FSU have signed it. We reached out to FSU for a response. The Office of Communications sent CBS Miami this statement. Florida State University is continually reviewing and assessing our security protocols, including evaluating door locks to ensure the safety of everyone on campus. But that same office sent this email to CNN saying, during a lockdown situation like April 17th, doors in the HCB building did lock immediately from outside as they are part of our electronic locking system that is centrally managed. Locally, Florida International University responded to our request with a video statement from their chief of police.
You must decide to run, hide, or fight.
The discussion on ensuring classroom doors can lock from inside definitely has merit, but is very complex. While it works well in restricting campuses like K-12, on college campuses that are open to the public, locking doors can create other safety concerns. And going back to FSU, Megan, other students, and the people who signed the petition are hoping the university will consider all the signatures that they've collected, especially in light of the shooting from last week. She did say that students are open to have an open discussion. We are at FIU. Ivan Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, it's been 25 years since South Florida found itself at the forefront of an international custody battle over little Elian Gonzalez. He's now a grown man. Hear from him next.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. The great fluoride debate has come to Miami-Dade County in a big way. Now the question is, will county commissioners go against the will of Mayor Daniella Levine Cava? She vetoed their plans to remove fluoride from Miami-Dade's drinking water. Today, she explained her decision to CBS News Miami's Jim Berry and why she hopes county commissioners do not override her veto.
I don't think I've ever started an interview, and that's like this, with a toothy grin.
Look. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniella Levine Cava says she wants to preserve those smiles in Miami-Dade residents, especially kids. It is why she has been defending her recent veto of a county commission measure to remove fluoride from Miami-Dade's drinking water.
The dentists tell us that we need fluoride for healthy teeth.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as you well know, is among those who say this is forced medication and it shouldn't be, that parents should have a choice.
Right.
Your reply to that is?
Well, first of all, it's not medication. It's a naturally occurring element. And there is no credible medical evidence to say that anyone is being harmed at the level that we are putting it in the water.
Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo recently argued the anti-fluoride position before the county commission, citing studies which he says indicate fluoride is harmful to childhood development.
I guess you weren't convinced with what he said. Why not?
Well, I don't think he's a dental expert, and I don't think he was citing credible science.
The fluoride debate has become the latest hot button in a political divide over public health policy.
Are we politicizing the public health of our kids?
I certainly was not. This was absolutely what was done for decades without question, and then politics got into it.
So what would you say to parents who feel, because of the concerns that have been raised, that they have legitimate concerns about the health of their own kids?
I heard from our local dental association president, who supports fluoride, that they certainly would welcome additional research to be done to help quell those concerns, but in the meantime not to take it out because the risk is very real.
Cava says that if fluoride is removed from Miami-Dade's water supply, the consequences could be dire.
We just don't have dental care that's available to people who can't afford it. It's expensive, and I think it'll be a public health crisis.
Cava hopes the Miami-Dade Commission does not override her veto and that lawmakers in Tallahassee do not ban fluoride in water systems statewide. If it comes to that, she believes it wouldn't be long before there is a demand to change course.
We have places that took it out, and then cavities increased substantially, and they put it back in.
I'm Jim Barry, CBS News, Miami.
Well, this week marked 25 years since Elian Gonzalez was taken from a home in Miami. Now he remains in Cuba, where he is a member of the Cuban National Assembly. I have this report on the 25-year anniversary of the raid that took little Elian away from his Miami family. The fight over custody of Elian Gonzalez ended with heavily armed federal agents seizing the boy and returning him to his father, who was soon back in Cuba with his son. 25 years later, Elian still lives in the house where he grew up in the town of Cardenas.
Yo crecí con mi familia, yo crecí con los que tenía que estar y eso me hace muy feliz.
In 2023, Elian was elected to Cuba's National Assembly. He sat down for an interview with an independent journalist working for the U.S.-based media platform Belly of the Beast. His life, he said, is simple. He's married with a 4-year-old daughter. Her name is Elise, in honor of Elian's mother, who died at sea.
Mi mamá fue una excelente madre, que incluso perdió su vida tratando de salvarme a mí y buscando un mejor lugar para vivir, porque también fue víctima de esa política de reconocimiento de sanciones a Cuba que hacen que el cubano quiera emigrar.
Elian was found alone, floating on an inner tube. His Miami family and the Cuban-American community didn't want him to leave, but it was not to be.
Oh, I'll never forget that day.
Former Miami Mayor Manny Diaz was a lawyer for Elian's Miami relatives.
It became very political, so there came a point where this sort of developed a life of its own, and the family got, I think, pitted against each other in a very adversarial way. It didn't have to be.
Diaz believes Elian's father wanted to stay here, but it became impossible once Fidel Castro got involved. Cuban journalist Liz Oliva Fernandez says Elian wants to reunite Cubans here and on the island.
I really believe that he wants to build bridges between Cuba and the United States. And I actually believe that he wants to find a balance between the both sides.
Elian said he wants to make sure no other mother risked the life of her child to escape conditions in Cuba like his mother did 25 years ago. Now, Elian said during that interview that the happiest moment of his life was when he returned to Cuba with his father and was reunited with his family on the island. He would, however, like to visit the United States and do whatever he can to improve relations between the U.S. and Cuba. When we return, see how a former teacher is using his love of art to help students find their voice in and out of the classroom. Next.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. In this week's all-new Miami Proud, we share the story of a former teacher who left the classroom. He's on a quest to reach and teach more students than ever before. CBS News Miami's Chelsea Jones explains how the Art Prevails project is helping students find their voice.
Thank you. Darius Daughtry may look like a traditional classroom teacher, but he's not anymore.
When I was teaching, I saw this gap that existed in a lot of schools. I began to go around to different schools and see, like, okay, some schools had these arts programs, but other schools didn't have those. And I knew what it did for me.
So he left the classroom behind, sort of. He founded his nonprofit, taking his love for students and art, and created the Art Prevails project. It was birthed from his own experience as a child who needed an escape.
I realized that was a place I could go when I needed to just express myself. And over the years, the idea of expressing and writing and putting things on paper just became a place of refuge for me.
So he set out on a quest to make art accessible for every child. Art Prevails started in his car, but has blossomed into so much more. With signature programs like Speak Your Piece and Write It Out, Daughtry goes into schools helping students tap into creativity and learn life skills.
For our kids, especially our students that need to learn self-advocacy and those independent functioning skills, this is huge to help them prepare to go into their work-related fields.
Giovanni Saray is a 16-year-old with autism who was enrolled in the program.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Really good. Nothing bad at all. I like it.
What I think I love most is it really opens them up to possibilities they didn't think of before.
I'm willing to graduate just so I can reach my career.
While Daughtry isn't a teacher by title anymore, he is still reaching and teaching students how to overcome obstacles, and his work is making Miami proud.
Like Whitney Houston said, you know, I believe the children are the future. As a world, if we're ever going to really be what we are destined to be, it's going to be in the hands of the children.
In Hollywood, Chelsea Jones, CBS News, Miami.
Fort Lauderdale Fleet Week is underway. Ships began arriving at Port Everglades on Tuesday with hundreds of sailors, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen. They'll take part in the week-long event, which includes community projects, a golf tournament, and a fishing tournament. CBS News Miami's Trish Christakis takes us on board all the excitement.
For 1 week each year, civilians get the chance to explore a U.S. military ship like this, the USS New York, and get a closer look at life in uniform and the people behind it.
It is the best feeling in the world. You know, oftentimes, we feel like what we do may be unnoticed just because every single day as we're doing our jobs and we're serving our country, you know, oftentimes a lot of the people don't get a chance to see us.
This is the 32nd year Fort Lauderdale has hosted Fleet Week. It brings about 1,200 sailors, Marines, and Coast Guard members.
We have a lot of service members from the Florida area, and it's a way to advertise and showcase a little bit what we can do and what we do every day.
Service members are out and about walking along Las Olas and visiting local businesses. Now, the shop owner says while the extra foot traffic is likely good for business, that's not what matters most.
Tuesdays are always a pretty slow day historically, but to see them coming in the store and different groups of them coming in the store is actually awesome.
Getting a chance to stand on the ships is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. For this Fleet Week, based on the port size, they were able to bring in 4 ships total.
It's to provide support of freedom that we all take for granted sometimes.
And for some, the best part, seeing the people behind the uniforms.
People that came up to me and they said, hey man, I didn't even know Marines have personalities. I thought y'all were just hardcore, just war fighters. I said, hey, no, we are. You know, no greater friend, no worse enemy. But we like to have a good time. We are people as well. It was beautiful though. They got a chance to experience John McCall as opposed to Staff Sergeant.
Well, Fleet Week goes until April 30th, but they stop giving tours April 29th. So if you want to stand on one of these massive ships like I am, you have until then to do so. And the pictures and the videos really do not do it justice. You have to physically stand on one of these to truly grasp how big they really are. Reporting in Fort Lauderdale, Trish Christakis, CBS News, Miami.
And thank you for joining us this half hour for Headliners. As always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great day.